We're here supporting the London Tech Week. We're talking about IP and how you make money from it, how you protect it, what it actually is. So I've got Carl here with me, who's going to be talking about the IP landscape and everything that goes with it. Thanks very much. How do I make money from the IP? What can I do with my IP to raise money and make money?
Good question. That is what it's all about. It's not about having a certificate on the office wall. It's not like a Mensa test that you carry on around with you as a badge of merit. Yeah. The only real benefit of owning IP is to be able to commercialize it and monetize it.
Yeah.
So in the first place, you can seek to assert a monopoly. So in terms of registered rights, they're about asserting monopolies and stopping other people from copying what you've just done. Mm-hmm. However, that in itself, in asserting and prosecuting sort of infringers of your IP, can be an expense in itself that you don't want to have. So we'll park the idea about that. What we don't know is that when you assert or when you have a monopoly right, how many people read your patent and go, oh, I can't do it that way, and walk away from it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that person that reads for example, a patent, goes, I can't do it that way. I'm going to talk to them about, can I license it from them? Mm-hmm. And like the agreement with the joint inventor type scenario, then we can start to talk about how you can actually license out the intellectual property, and that becomes something that is becomes a value to the inventor. The other elements that you can then do is start to look at valuing how you came to arrive at this package of intellectual property, and ask yourself, has that got value that's adding to the business, and will other people see that value as something that they could invest in to further develop the business?
Okay.
Or ultimately, with some years down the line, I'm thinking, well, I've worked this business for a while, sort of like sundowners on a palm fringe beach was my ambition. How am I going to realise that? So it might be that I'm going to look for a trade asset, a trade exit, and realise my assets that way. So in all examples, we really want to understand how we kind of arrive at a valuation for the IP we're generating.
Yeah, that for me is a really interesting question. So I, as an investor, a company comes to me and says, we've got £1 million worth of intangible assets in our IP. I, as an investor, are going to sit there and go, but it's intangible. How do I actually know the value of it? So how do we, I know it's perhaps how long is a piece of string, but how do we actually get a believable value against the intangible asset that is the IP landscape of the company?
That's a great question, and I think you know the answer, and I'll arrive at the very often used answer at the very end. But the kind of academic approach is, one, we'll look at the cost of replicating what you're doing.
Okay.
So we've sat in a lab. I've employed a few people doing exclusively this. We've bought in equipment to do this. What would it cost someone else to start from a lab and develop it? I do betray my background as being a lab scientist in using that example. Secondly, we'll look at recent trade sale. Mm-hmm. So has someone done something similar, and what did they achieve in terms of the market? What was the market really wanting to pay for it? And thirdly, what is the potential market for the product? And how likely are we going to achieve that? So how achievable is that estimate of the market size? And what is someone likely to pay? Then fourthly, the one that I've seen you use before in conference is finger in the air. What can we agree? The important part to that is both parties need to accept that they've got a good deal, and that I've worked my socks off to get to this point. I want to know that I'm getting recompense for all that effort that I've put in to get here. The person on the other side of the table is wanting to know that they're getting a good deal and that they know that they can take that to the market and they'll realise some profit off that deal.
I've heard that you can now borrow money based on the value of your IP. Is that true? And if so, who do I speak to?
Increasingly, we're seeing this. And yes, so the equity that you're developing within the business with your asset is now becoming something that you can use to generate a loan. Famously, most recently, the key mover has been NatWest.
Yeah.
And NatWest are being very active in this market. There is a caveat. You can't be a simple, I've invented something, still in the workshop, I haven't found my market type of inventor. We have to be in the market. We have to be generating turnover, because at the back end of year one, you're going to have to furnish the loan. So you're typically, the turnover that we're talking about is 100,000 per month.
Okay.
Be able to furnish the repayments of the loan come month 13. And so for more successful businesses that are kind of in the medium to large size definition of SME, that is becoming doable, and might exclude some of the smaller businesses.
But let's say, for example, I'm turning over £1 million a year, just over, and I need a loan in order to take advantage of, let's say, for example, a contract that I've just received from somebody like Airbus. Then if I have got IP within the business, which at that point I probably should have, and it has been properly identified and registered, then I can go to a bank and say, give me some money.
It's not quite as simple as that.
Down.
So I'm sorry to disappoint. You will at least have to have a decent asset register.
Okay.
You'll have to have independent verification of the value of that asset register.
Okay.
And remember that we might not be talking about just one element of IP when we make that approach. So we're talking about a package of IP. And that's why the asset register is really important.
Carl, this is a vast area. I know we could carry on for quite a while, but I think for the moment, thank you very much indeed. That's probably all that we need to go through for the moment.
You're most welcome, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks all.